Weaving with Diane. In this video we're going to tie the warp onto the back beam and we are then going to wind the warp on, tie it onto the front and then start weaving. The first thing we have to do, we have got our warp tied onto the front beam, so it is all secured, so we have a tension point to tie against. We are tying here onto the back rod, and what I have done in this particular situation, because we have two warps, I have divided it up, just to save a bit of time, into groups so I know where we're heading. We need to grab the centre warp groups. Now actually these have divided into 4, so we will get one left of centre and then do one right of centre. You'll see why in a moment. So we need to pick up, that's the first pair left of centre, second pair left of centre. I'm going to join those to get 2 together as a group, then the next pair and the next pair. Right, that gives us 2 chunks of warp. We pick up the back rod, put your finger between the pairs so that you're keeping them separate. Drop them down underneath. Take them over the top, go around the outside, cross them over, pull towards the castle, pull back, and then do your reef knot. I'll do it again on this one. Again, we're going to take 2 groups. These groups each have 6 threads each, and it doesn't matter precisely how many groups they are. Right, here is our 2 groups. So, going underneath, pulling them both underneath, then they go over the top, around the outside, cross over, pull towards the castle, and then do a reef knot. You can tell you've done a reef knot when the ends stick sideways. If the ends stick that way, you've done a granny knot. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that we've done those 4, which is the centre, we actually want to release the tension. They need to be a bit looser. Now we'll do the outside ones. Now tie the warp to the back rod, and we have got these 2 slightly looser, the ones in the centre, and these ones tighter. The reason for that is we're aiming to get these tails of warp about the same length. It will make sense as we're tightening along. So you're wanting these a smidge loose, that's why you just back it off a bit. And if you were doing more ties further out, you would probably back off a little bit further every time you did a pair. Right, we're all tied on, so now we go to the front, and this is where the choke tie can depart. I find the easiest thing is to snip right up next to the knot, give it a yank, and then that will release it. Same story with releasing the choke tie. Snip right up close to the knot, and then you can attack the other end and it normally will undo. You do not want to cut a warp thread at this stage. Okay, the warp is now free and ready to wind on. It's threaded through the reed, it's threaded through the heddles. Now what we need to do is create a tensioning effect. So going to the back of the loom again, we'll wind it on a little bit to give ourselves a bit of space. And what we need to do is put some rods through. The easy way to do this, particularly this is nice and easy. Oh, first of all, remove bulldog clips. No longer required. Create a shed. I've got a hand here holding the warp, and then you want to stick one of these shed sticks through that shed. Now, you aim for a tabby. If your pattern doesn't allow a tabby, you do something as close to that tabby as you can. This 2-shaft loom, nice and easy. Create the opposite shed and stick the other stick through. Now these sticks are going to stay still. They're going to stay put, but we need to tie them up to do that. Anyway, one more step. We create the opposite shed and we grab a clamp. This is the easy way of doing this. And clamp the loom in the position of the opposite shed. If you had a jack loom, you could always put some rods underneath the shaft to hold them up. But with this counterbalance loom, this is the easy way of doing it. Okay, now we need to hold these shed sticks in position. The easiest way of doing that, 2 loops of thread. They're the same length long. And all I do is I hook them around the upright of the castle. In this case, I need to get them through the other side of the clamp. I should have put the clamp on after, but that's all right, there they go. And then I hook the sticks in, twist it to keep the sticks separate, and that keeps the sticks in place. Do the same with the other side. There we are, they're sitting there, and as much as that looks interesting, that's actually pretty good. Now we can pull the beater forward, one hand on the beater, the other hand on the back rod, and we can wind. And now because this is such a fine warp, this will wind on quite nicely. If I feel any resistance in this hand with the beater, I will immediately start flicking the warp out. Now, okay, I have come to the point where I would normally put paper in. This is a little trick if you actually happen to have sheets of wallpaper. Otherwise, this is where you would start putting in some pieces of paper, but I find this can be very tricky. I've just got a long piece of dowel, the roll of wallpaper sitting on it, and all I need to do is tuck that in there and keep winding. Now, as long as it's not going to hit the handle, nope, that's fine. So now I can keep winding away. If I feel that there is resistance in the beater, I will come around here, I will grab my 2 warp chains, I'll let them pull out as they're going, and I'll give them a flick and make sure that's clear. So now I just wind on, and as I wind on, the paper winds on. So I don't have to do anything else apart from make sure that there are no knots, and if I feel any resistance, I stop and check. Now we've wound the full warp on, and we're left with the tails like this. This helps you not accidentally keep winding and totally lose everything through your reed. So it is the same story as before. Snip close to the knot. We can take the clamps off. And you can, preferably while you're holding the front so you don't accidentally pull anything through, change the sheds carefully and pull those rods out of the back. That's all done now. We're ready now to tie onto the front, which will be done in the same method as we tied onto the back, with one small difference. Okay, we make sure that our reed is accurately in the centre. Now I will start from the centre and I'll head out. This time, because we've got 10 threads to the inch, just for the heck of it, I'll probably do 10 threads and another group of 10 threads, and so tie 2 inches together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 10. Now you really do want your threads all nicely straight together. If you feel like things are a bit too long, wind on your back beam. Now, this tie should be in the middle. So we start to this side and we go over, under, cross, pull towards the castle, and then do our reef knot. Now, if you find you've got longer odd ends, don't worry, that's often just, particularly with this one, it's a very long warp, so things will get slightly different, but this all gets evened out now. Right, we've done one side of the warp. Now we're going to do, sorry, one side of the centre line. Now we're going to do the other side of the centre line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 5, right. Right, same story. Underneath, make sure they're straight. Over, around the back, underneath. Pull to the castle to tension, pull back out. If you drop it, just retension. Reef knot. Now, the next thing is the trick. The trick is wind on one, which is tightening those two centre ones. Now, we're going to continue. We're going to go this side, then we'll wind on one, and that side, and then we'll click on one. It maintains a nice even tension, and once I've got it all tied on, then we'll start the header. Right, the warp has been fully tied onto the front rod, so now we're ready to start creating our header. First step is to actually wind this further on so that we've got more space in the shed area. To do that, you tighten up the back beam just a smidge, remembering which way it goes, just so that you can then loosen the cog, loosen the spigot of the cog I should say, and then tighten up the front. That looks pretty. I have shifted the tied on rod closer to the front beam so that we've got more space for weaving the header, which we shall now do. Okay, doesn't matter which shed, create a shed, put a stick shuttle through with some rug yarn on it or some other thick disposable yarn, you might say. This will get removed at the end. Do not beat. Change shed. Push through on the other side. Now, don't worry about your selvages. Let a loop hang. Change shed again. Push through. Leave a bit hanging out. Right. Close the shed. In other words, in this case, feet off the treadle. Grab the beater. Pull. Now this I need to shift to a closer position and pull. Look at that. Nice and even. Looking good. I might go back to the back position. Now we'll do it once more. Through the shed. Leave a tail. Change shed. Change shed. Right, close shed and pull. And in this case again, shift to the front. Pull. Now, I will only need to do that one more time and I'll have a header. I will not have any gaps in between. Everything will be evenly spaced. This is all the time, it's the right time as well when you're doing the header, or just before the header if you can as well, to check to make sure that you've got everything where it should be. In this case, I can look through the reed and see that there is, in one shed, one thread in every second slot. In the other shed, same story, one thread in every second slot. So once I do this header once more, the 1, 2, 3, and then beat, I will be ready to weave the final product. So that's the full sum of putting the warp on the loom. Yes, I've just used a simple warp to make it a bit easier for people to see, but hopefully you'll be able to take that and use that in making your own warp and putting it on. I'd like to thank my support crew, Natalie for my video education, Ellie for being my camera person, and Natalie for today's hairstyle. Thanks so much for watching, and keep an eye out for more videos as people ask for them. Bye.